Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Cyrine. I am from Tunisia, identifying as a migrant in Italy now. I am active in the civil society in the human rights field and democracy, on migration more specifically now within Voicify. And academically, I have a medical background. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Cyrine. And another point, I realize that I see things that I forget by the way, but something also extremely important, Mariana, which is one of our speakers today, she will be talking in Portuguese, and Anna will facilitate the translation. So sometimes we'll need we will need to take a little bit of time for that. So just to let you know that we'll have somebody from the speakers who needs some help on that sense. Quindi Mariana puoi anche parlare su di te, sì, buona una introduzione. Non ti sentiamo, Mariana.
Mi sentite?
Ora, grazie.
Ah, ok, scusate. Desculpa. Bom, Mariana, e eu moro em Nápoles há 17 anos, quase. E, enfim, pode falar.
Pode falar tudo, depois eu também.
Eu moro em Nápoles há 17 anos e trabalho na Revibra como coordenadora da Itália, da Revibra. A Revibra é uma instituição que trabalha com mulheres em situações de violência e vulnerabilidade, e trabalho também numa comissão do Partido dos Trabalhadores na Itália, sempre com o tema mulheres e as suas necessidades. É isso.
Okay, so Stephanie can help me if I miss something. But Mariana lives in Napoli, in Italy. It's been 17 years. She is the coordinator of Revibra in Italy, which is a organization that takes care of women that suffer gender-based violence here in the European Union, most popularly in Brazilian women. Okay, and she also is part of a commission of workers in Italy. And she works also with women's rights in that session.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Okay, so what I suggest is to start with the questions, with the first question. The idea is to spend around 10 minutes by question, even though we can be a little bit flexible. That is way at the end of this discussion, we'll have some time to open a Q&A. And you can pose, obviously, you can ask the questions that you feel are interesting for you and to enrich this discussion. So what I suggest is to start with Stephanie, who will make the first question to open this discussion with the speakers.
Thank you, and thank you so much, everyone, for your presentation. Obrigada, Mariana. So to kick off this this panel and kind of get to know you better in your experiences, we were wondering what has motivated you to come to Europe, or what were the main reasons behind it, what actually made you come. So I'll leave the floor, or maybe we can start with, I don't know, with David, who also presented himself earlier. So he spoke a little while ago.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, everyone. As I told you, my name is David, and I'm originally from Cameroon. I'm living in Greece as a refugee. I'll be speaking based on myself, and I'll touch base with other refugees as well. So for me, myself, I left my home country, which is Cameroon, due to my sexual orientation, which I grew up in Africa knowing that I was different, and life was very, very difficult because being gay in Cameroon is really not accepted, and we are not allowed to exercise who you love or who you want to be with. So it's very, very, very difficult. So I had to leave. A lot of people also leave due to political issues. Like right now in Cameroon, we are colonized by the French and the English, like French and English. So there's also like conflict back home in Cameroon, which a lot of people are fleeing from the Anglophone region, since Cameroon is being colonized by more of the French, and the French people are dominating, and it's kind of a fight. There's a fight now, which there's a lot of genocide right now that is going on. So a lot of people are leaving too. So that's another reason for them to migrate. So for myself, I left due to my sexuality, which I was looking for a safe space for myself where I could be free to be with who I want to be with, to love who I want to love, and also to be with just to be free to live my life as a normal person. So in my journey, I faced a lot of difficulties, which I would say is not worth it, because if I was born in a country where I could exercise my myself like who I am, all the risks I took right up to this moment wouldn't have happened, because I took a lot of risks while moving from one country to another. The things we see people dying every day, and also people being insulting us, like we don't want to see you. All the names. Sorry about this. Oh my God. Sorry again. And also with all the names we are being called, like from this country to another country, they call us refugees. Just the name alone, it's kind of it's like a mark on us, like refugees. We are not welcome here. You need to leave our country. So it's a whole lot of stress on its own. So I would say I didn't leave voluntarily, but I was forced to leave, because that's just it. I was forced to leave just to be safe, because if I was back home, either you go to prison or you will be stoned to death by the community. I call it the community because they didn't believe being LGBTQI, you are a normal person. For them, it's kind of witchcraft. I don't know if you know what's witchcraft. It's kind of witchcraft. It's kind of, you don't belong to the society. So I was forced to leave. I was not like, it's not a deliberate act for me to move, but I was forced to leave. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, your experience, David. Thank you so much. It's not easy, but yeah, we are happy. And just as a quick follow-up, and I think everyone must be wondering, how long have you been in Greece for now? Oh, David? Okay, maybe that's okay. We shall continue then, if that's okay. Cyrene, we can go to you, if that's okay. So the question was, what has motivated you to come to Europe? What were the main reasons behind it? And if you want to give us a little bit of background as well, how long you've been here, then that would be good. Yeah, I give you the floor.
Okay, thank you for the question. I've been here for 1 year and a half, so not that much. I didn't have only one motivation, let's say. It was it was a whole process, I would say, because in my first years of university, I never thought I would like to leave my country and live abroad. All the times I traveled, I always wanted to come back, and I never felt I wanted to stay somewhere else. Then I understood little by little. So I studied medicine, and little by little I discovered my interests, let's say, and I was aiming to work in research, and I discovered in the beginning research, but I discovered my interest in neuroscience. And in my country, there is not sufficient opportunities, I would say, to do this career and proceed with this career. So I was having in mind to look for more opportunities abroad. I preferred Europe because it's very close to my country and it's easier to go and come back. So yeah, this was one of the reasons. One other reason is that I met my partner in Italy like 9 years ago. And yeah, at the beginning, we were saying it's only if we don't find any other option, I can move. But then I was having this motivation as well to move. And so I chose Italy because he was in Italy. But now both of us, we are considering to move somewhere else, maybe. So these are main reasons, I would say. And it's a continuous process. So it's just about accepting moving, and now I accept to move.
Thank you so much. I think you put a lot of emphasis on how migrating is always not just because one thing, and there are a lot of factors that come into play. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. And now I would like to give the floor to Mariana. You can speak in Portuguese if you want, and then Anna and me can translate. Oh, sorry, I'll also translate the question. I didn't think about that. A pergunta era o que te motivou para você vir para a Europa ou vir para a Itália? E, bom, você já comentou no começo, né, que estava aqui há 17 anos. Então, quais foram os seus principais motivos? Mariana, desculpa, a gente está escutando você com um pouquinho de quebra no som.
Ah, espera só um pouquinho.
Tá. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Enfim. Vocês me escutam bem?
Tá, bem melhor.
Ok. Eu vim, então, voltando, recapitulando rapidinho, eu vim do Brasil, de São Paulo, vim do Brasil para Portugal com um contrato de trabalho, trabalhei, terminou o contrato e eu queria a imagem do que era a Europa, porque eu fiquei bem traumatada em relação a Portugal e o tratamento, né, que os brasileiros recebem ali. E então resolvi vir para a Itália e acabei ficando aqui. Depois eu tive uma filha e fui ficando e fui descobrindo que tinha em mim, particularmente, uma necessidade grande de trabalhar com pessoas que já tinham passado, que estavam passando situações que eu passei. Então, eu resolvi tentar ajudar, e então eu comecei a trabalhar com a Revibra, e há 2 anos faço parte do Partido dos Trabalhadores, aqui na Itália, e trabalho com mulheres em situação de vulnerabilidade, direta e indiretamente, né? Meu trabalho com a Revibra é completamente voluntário, e o que mais eu posso dizer? É um trabalho que me dá muita satisfação, mas é um trabalho muito pesado, porque me lembra todos os dias o quanto nós, migrantes, temos dificuldade de acessar alguns lugares. É isso.
Obrigada. Anna, do you want to translate? Or...
Yes, so Mariana came to Portugal with a work contract. So she first went to Portugal. She stayed there for the contract, and then she decided to move to Italy because of like the treatment that Brazilian had been in Portugal. So she moved to Italy, and she remained there. She had a daughter, started working, and at the end she remained there. And then she started also to work in Revibra, which deals with women who have passed through situations of the violence. And it's not an easy job. It's very demanding, like emotionally demanding. But she does it, and she does it voluntarily. And that's it.
And she is also working with the Workers' Party in Italy.
Yes.
She felt this need as a migrant woman herself of helping people that were in her same condition and were put in a more vulnerable situation. Because I think you mentioned, that one thing that made her move from Portugal to Italy was how she saw the Brazilians, and especially Brazilian women, were treated in Portugal. And there's a lot of racism there. So she was searching for a better life, and she found it in Italy, and she's been there for 17 years. So I'll conclude now my question. Thank you so much to all of the speakers for that. Obrigada, Mariana. This was super lovely. And I'll pass the floor to my colleague, Lisa.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you to all the speakers for this first question. And actually, Mariana just talked about one of the challenges arriving in Portugal, which was racism. Is there a problem with my sound?
We have a bit of echo.
Okay, let me try something.
Não sei se eu ouvi direito, mas a pergunta era a respeito sobre o que eu passei em Portugal, correto?
Não, ela ainda não, ela tá só introduzindo. Ela vai fazer a pergunta daqui a pouco. Rapidinho.
Is it better now? Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you to all the speakers for launching the conversation with the first question. And our follow-up question was actually about the main opportunities and challenges that you all encountered by coming to Europe. And for example, Mariana just mentioned racism. So we were wondering about this kind of opportunities and challenges that you discovered by coming to Europe compared to your home country. And I can give the floor to Sirin to start.
Okay, we diversify. Okay, so I would say one first opportunity was that I could start this career in research of neuroscience. So when I came to Italy, I came to Turin to do a master internship in the laboratory there. So this was one of the opportunities. Then I would say, being here now in Europe, I have the opportunity to move within EU. So this is another opportunity. I can also apply, as now I work as a freelance researcher and educator, so I can apply for short, momentaneous works or online works everywhere in EU, because it's easy not to have to apply for a visa each time. But of course, I'm encountering, I would say, challenges. So challenges being here in Italy, more specifically, I would say, so not, yeah, I have the, how to say, the challenge is the language. So now I'm learning another language, not the Italian. So I am not learning Italian. I would say I am in A1-2 or something, so I can understand, not speak. So I cannot apply for something sustainable, for example, here. I cannot have I cannot be active locally because here I would say there is a strong presence and dominance of the Italian language. It's not in other countries where maybe you can do something with English or French, yeah, I would say English mainly because it's more international. And also, if I want to apply for another country, it doesn't change anything that I'm in Europe, because with my residency permit, I have to every time go through the embassy again. So it's like if I was in Tunisia. So this is a challenge, because actually, or maybe it's it does not give any more opportunities. Like I'm here, but it doesn't make any difference. So all bureaucracy. So it's a European Union, but even if you are inside of it, it doesn't change anything. It's like if you are considered as, how to say, yeah, based on your nationality and your passport, you are not considered as someone who is living here. So you can maybe be free in moving or working and applying, or even applying for studies. Yeah, I would come back to another opportunity from cultural level, I would say, being in Italy, not Europe more specifically. Italy is very close to my country in terms of culture. It's Mediterranean, also in terms of nature. So I feel like home. So this is one of the opportunities, but this depends on this country. So if I change it, it does not make sense anymore. Yeah, about, of course, I realized more and more when I'm here, the colonial perspective, the supremacist perspective, maybe because how to say, when I worked, it was a little bit international environment in Italy, but I see in people's eyes the surprise. I see I see in our work in Voicify, I see how can a migrant person can be discriminated, how people cannot participate because they are migrants in the decisions they are concerned with. So these are, let's say, challenges we witness in the work mainly. But we know it exists since, even if we are not here, I mean, but when we are here, maybe we witness it just a little bit more. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyrine, for your experience. Actually, I think it's very interesting to see what you said. Like you can be inside the EU, but not actually an insider, depending on the context. So it's very interesting to have this perspective. Maybe we can continue with Mariana. And I can let my colleagues translate the question if it's necessary.
Mariana, a pergunta é as oportunidades e os desafios que você vê na Europa comparados com o Brasil. Questões, bom, gerais, você pode escolher do que você quer falar. Maybe we're having some connection problems. Maybe you want to give the word to David, and then we can come back to Mariana.
Sure. David, would you like to take the floor and answer the question about the opportunities and challenges that you encountered by coming to Europe?
Thank you so much, Lisa. I would say, Cyrine, I think you came in voluntarily, like you're looking for a place. But I for one, I was forced to leave. It's kind of different. It's not like I came because I wanted to. It's because I was forced to. So mine is pretty different. And the difficulties that I faced first is it started from home. Like, how am I going to leave? What am I going to encounter? Who am I going to meet? You know, how is my passage going to be? So I had to leave my home country up to Turkey, where I met a lot of obstacles, as I said in the first questions. And just before arriving in Greece, it was really hell, you know, trying to sail through the Mediterranean Sea, risking my life for something which was not even worth it, because I could die. In a minute, I could just drown. So it was pretty scary. My journey was really scary. But arriving in Greece, I also noticed that the immigration law for refugees, because I'm a refugee, was very poor, because we were locked up in prison. And someone like me, I said I was looking for a safe space for myself. Someone like me, I said I was looking for a safe space for myself, but here am I, being locked up in prison for 3 good months. So I would say it was really difficult for me. And when we asked, like, why were we put in prison, things like that, so we're treated as slaves. So I would call it slave, because the things we eat, where we sleep, where we're sleeping, it was really not really good. And when I left the camps to Athens, I also noticed a lot of differences, because there was a little bit of racism, because we were kept different, like from those from the whites where we were living in Athens. It's quite different from where the white people are staying. So it was pretty much very, very problem to me, because I wanted to live a normal life with people. I thought I was safe, I was free to meet with people, I could interact, but it was kind of different. And when I said things were really difficult, trying to get a job, it was really difficult. I could not get a job if you don't speak Greek. Language was a barrier for me. I had to go to school to learn the Greek language. Even you get the Greek language, we still look at second class, not even second class. We're never even like recognized. You're like, getting documents here just to work was a problem to me. So it was kind of very difficult for me to adapt to the system right up to now.
Thank you, David. Thank you for sharing your experience. I think it's very important that we have your experience also, because it shows how migration can mean very different things, actually. And it's really interesting to compare all your experiences. And at the same time, I noticed that you faced some challenges that are very similar to what Cyrine faced, like the barrier of the language, for example. So maybe now we can ask Mariana if she is ready to speak. Yeah, sure, Serene.
Yeah, I wanted to talk after Mariana, but if she's having problem with the mic, I can speak. I wanted to react on the challenge of the language. So it's a big challenge in many countries, and I would have faced it 100 times more if my partner didn't speak the language. But it really helped me so much that in all administrations, because we have a lot of paper things to do, and if he did not speak the language, I would have never be able to do this. And some more challenge that comes to my mind, because maybe when we get normalized to the idea, we don't think it's a challenge anymore. But one big challenge is the recognition of my degrees. So the system is making some degrees recognizable, some others not, even if, I mean, for example, in medical degrees, for example, France and Germany, they are accepting a lot of Tunisian medical doctors, not medical students. So doctors that are ready just to produce and work. So they accept them. So if they accept them and give them job, it means they want them and they believe in their studies. But at the same time, the paperwork you have to do, the 100 exams you have to take in order to do the recognition of your degrees is just, I mean, imaginary. So maybe we get used to it because we see everyone doing it. But I mean, the process is very hard. And we always, what we find in the website is, if your degree is European, this is the procedure. If it's not European, this is a procedure, and it's very different. So yeah, this is one of the big challenges I'm facing, I would say, and I really want it to be done, and yeah, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, thank you for reacting on that. I can see that it's a big challenge for many people coming to Europe. What do you think, my colleagues? Do you know if Mariana is able to speak now, or should we move on to the next question?
Mariana, cioè, puoi parlare? Ci senti? Perché forse il microfono spento. So I don't know, actually.
I think we can move on, and in case she comes back, then we can just give her the previous question and the next one as well.
Yeah. So Lisa, if you would like to give the floor to the next mediator.
Sure, I give the floor to Anna. We can't hear you.
Sorry. So our next and last question is related to what image you had of Europe before coming, and if this image changed or not, and what shocked you the most when you arrived here? I would go now to, well, Serene started, so now David.
Sorry, it's me or David?
David.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Anna. And this is a very interesting question. When I was back home, I thought like coming to Europe, I will be totally free, especially to exercise my freedom, like to believe to live my 90%, like to live the truth about myself. But I was pretty shocked that for my own, I was pretty shocked, like not everyone in Europe wants him or his or her son, or maybe her child to belong to the society that I belong. Like I call it the LGBTQI group. So it was pretty frustrating for me because even at some point here in Europe, I could see people still being homophobic to people like that, like being very, very strange. So I would say I was totally really uncomfortable when I saw that, because the image that I had of me before coming was, oh, I'm going to a safe place. Everyone is going to look upon me as being very equal. You need to live your truth and things like that. But that was the opposite of what I saw. And also here in Greece, I've been working with LGBTQ refugees, especially with trans people. It's very difficult for them to get jobs. If you say we are protecting LGBTQI refugees and asylum seekers, and we need to give them job, we need to make sure they have their life back. But here in Athens, especially here in Greece, not like especially in Athens, here in Greece, I have one of my community members that because I am the director of programs here in Greece with an organization. So we look for jobs for these people. We look for jobs for our community members. But at one point they were denied jobs, like, hey, we don't deal with such people. So it's kind of very frustrating to us. But this is not the Europe. They say they are welcoming LGBTQI refugees. So it was kind of very frustrating to me. So it's like it was from the image that I had in mind was pretty much kind of different. Yes, you can live your life like nobody will judge you. Nobody's going to talk to you except you step into someone's shoes or to talk to the person. But in another way, we were being discriminated. Like, oh, we can't give jobs to such people. So it was kind of very difficult. So it's really not, I wouldn't say it was totally like 100% very good, but it's very confusing and difficult. So that was not the image that I had when I was coming to Europe. Totally.
Thank you, David. One question I would ask if you feel that behavior against LGBT community is like with all LGBT community, or you feel there's like another layer regarding also refugees and migrants?
So talking on other, like a lot of them were coming to Europe maybe to like for those that came for political reasons, because I would say maybe they might come like migrants. They might face what they are taught. I don't think what they were thinking that's what they are saying, because life in Europe I would say it's very difficult. They thought, some of them came in thinking maybe Europe was pretty easy for them, maybe to integrate or maybe to live a better life, be the better versions of themselves. But I don't think that's not what they saw, because a lot of different, like a lot of cultural differences. They couldn't really they could emerge with the system. Things were pretty much different. Like back home, the system was different from that of Europe, and Europe is more of it's more constructive, Meanwhile, back in Africa, that's not the case. Here, it's pretty much I would say what's the word? It's pretty much more of more constructive, and to get jobs for them, it's very difficult. I will come back to the word of racism. Maybe they might not get jobs because you might go in there, but they prefer someone more rather than you, So, and they get frustrated and things like that, and they turn out doing other illegal jobs and making their names, or especially the Nigerians, like they turn out going for drugs, like doing drugs or things like that, which that was not what they want, due to frustration because they didn't have the opportunity to work, or maybe they want to get jobs, but they are not opportune to get jobs due to maybe they don't have the right papers, they've been denied the right to work or things like that. So they turn out to be frustrated, and they turn to drug, and they start selling drugs on the streets.
Thank you, David. Now I'll do the floor to Celine.
Okay, this is a very good question as well. As David, I believe it's very good. I would say, first of all, maybe this is one expectation that is a little bit personal. I always witness people in poorer countries that are in survival mode. So I was always thinking, when we are not caring about survival anymore, and we have more stable lives, or we live in more economically and politically stable countries, we can fully live our lives and have different activities or not. But yeah, maybe I was expecting to see people living fully their lives and looking for their potentials and I don't know, contributing in the public life in different forms. So I was a little bit shocked, I would say, to see that people also here are in survival mode. I mean, there is no difference anywhere in the world. I was also, I don't want to generalize, but I would say I met before different European people. I traveled different countries, but it was maybe more in international, how to say, frames, like trainings or conferences. So the conversation I used to have maybe are not the same with people I meet now every day in different contexts. What I witnessed is this Eurocentric perspective and this a little bit, I would say, I witnessed, I'm not generalizing, but this narrow mind, this lack of sensitivity to cultures, to different cultures, this lack of information about other continents, about geography. I mean, people just think, yes, I mean, they can mix Asia with Africa together just because people speak Arabic or because they are Muslim. Or so I was kind of really shocked because I didn't expect to see this and witness it with many people. Another shock, but I would say, I don't know if it's a shock or not, but it's like I realized. So in my colonial education, the colonial education we got, because our education is very colonial, I would say. Tunisia was colonized by France, and we still have a very colonial education that shows Europe and France, and yeah, as a good example to follow. So we always have been told that people in Europe or in more developed countries, people are more civilized, people respect the environment better, respect each other better, they know what to do. So, okay, I discovered it little by little the past years, but I discovered it more now that the people are the same everywhere. There are no more conscious people or more civilized people or more sensitized about citizenship and the role of citizenship. I mean, the majority, I feel, is always people who have this lack of citizenship feeling or responsibility. So what makes the difference is, I feel, in my perspective, is a state that applies law, or a state that does not, or applies law in a more efficient way, or municipality that does its work to keep the street clean, for example. So I witnessed many times very dirty places after people reuniting there, and I told myself, okay, it's not about the people. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Surin. Thank you. It was very nice to hear you both.
If I may jump in before we go into open Q&As, and I think circling back to David's question, but also to you, Serene, I wanted to add the gender perspective. So do you see that in a very dual perspective of gender, that maybe that, like, for females or for males, there is a added hardship onto coming, or maybe that it's a bit easier? And maybe I'll ask first to David, because he was talking a little bit about that, and then maybe Serene as well, if you notice any difference in your personal life and your surroundings.
Can you please I didn't get a question. Please, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, sure. So we were talking about migration status and motivations that being people come in situations and even their sexual orientations. And I wanted to add the perspective of gender. So if you think for you at a certain point was harder, or maybe that you thought maybe easier because you were a male, or identify as a male, and then you would see, or you would think, okay, being part of a specific or being assigned to a specific gender would make my experience in a way easier or harder. If it's anything that you perceived, maybe you didn't, and that's also fine.
I think I will say, yeah, I think for women, especially for gender, it's very difficult because this is not what they wanted. A lot of African women, I will speak of African women, grew up in an environment where they don't work. Like I will talk in Tunisia, I know the ladies stay at home and the men work for them. So by coming to Europe, you can't do that. A lot of them are forced to work, and which is kind of pretty difficult for them because that is not their tradition. A lot of them are coming like from Syria. That's their tradition, especially those from Syria, Iraq, migrating to Europe. That's why you see most of them tend to begging on the streets, which that is not their life. If they were back home, they wouldn't do such things. For men, it's pretty easy. That like for me, yeah, it's easy for me because I could go fend for myself. But for ladies, especially for the Black Africans, most of them tend to prostitution, which is that is not an option. But they are forced to do certain things that they don't want to do, like their easy way of life, because the prostitution, which is not right. But for men, I think it's pretty much easier. But for the ladies, it's difficult.
Thank you. Syrian, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, personally, maybe I don't know if it's really linked to gender making it more difficult or not, but I would say there are different stereotypes for male and different stereotypes for female coming from Africa or North Africa. So for example, I mean, it can surprise people that they are expecting me because I come from North Africa to wear a scarf or to be an oppressed person. But this comes from people's stereotypes. So I don't know. I tell them I am with my partner. They ask, is he good to you? Like it's like they're expecting him to be a violent person or a machist person. And I don't know, maybe they forget that all societies are still machist, or majority of societies in Europe are still machist. Just jumping on what David was sharing, I would say maybe this is one as well of what is shared among people, that women don't work and they stay at home. But I mean, in Tunisia, both work. We have some regions where women work and the men stay at home, but it's not in the way that they agree on it, but they take afterwards the money from their wives. It doesn't mean, I mean, it's a good example. So now, I mean, this is really changing. It's just I wanted to jump in, and there are still people staying at home, but I don't feel it's a majority. I mean, the majority of people now doing university studies are women. Majority people I studied with as well in university are women. So, and this is everywhere. I think it's not only.
Thank you. Yeah.
So thank you for your intervention. It has been really really interesting, actually. I mean, the conversation has changed all around. In the very beginning, it seemed that it was really soft, you know, that we were talking about positive stuff, the vibration, that the vibes were I mean, at least this is what I feel, were absolutely different to the end. And so we should also speak for itself, how emotionally we can be attached to certain things depending on the questions and on the experiences that we witness in our lives, especially as migrants, right? So there is another member of Revibra, which is the organization who also participates with Mariana in this meeting. So I propose that they make a short intervention as well. I don't know if they will like to mention some things about the other two questions that we made, actually. So, for example, about the challenges and opportunities that they found in Europe, and the other question was more related to what was the image that they have about Europe before coming, what shocked them the most.
Juliana, yeah, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Juliana Valgren. I'm the founder and the director of Revibra. I must apologize for Mariana connective problems. We are trying to reach out to her, but she's not responding. So I decided to jump in. I was just participating and listening and eager to hear from different perspectives and experience. So I appreciate very much the witness and testimony shared by Cyrene and also by David. So it has been a learning journey since I connected. Of course, my experience does not replace Mariana's experience. My experience does not is not the same as Cyrene and as David. Me, myself, I'm Brazilian, but I arrived in Europe to study when I was 16 years old. I've been through all the different kind of permits. I think the only permit that I haven't had was asylum or refugee status. Beyond that, I have had a student visa, I have had a family grouping visa, I have had a blue card, I have had a single permit. I think from all the 12 categories of visa, I think I managed to have 9. So I know a little bit, and I'm a little bit older than you, I'm 46. So I've been in different, let's say in different paths. I think, of course, for someone from my generation, the image from Europe was different. I come also from a moment when Brazil was really excelling in terms of economic progress. So when I moved to Europe in the 90s, we were not facing the same economic struggles that we are facing now. So my migration journey was purely to study. And then, of course, I had the opportunity and the privilege to seize other opportunities, such as research, further studies, jobs. So I'm probably not a good sample of examples of migration, especially coming from the global South. I was listening to your feedback and your journeys, and I think there were some points that I'd like just to bring to the reflection as Revibra, because we try to have an intersectional approach. By intersectional, it means that we're exploring not only the different identities of the people. So for us, it's not only about migrant status, race, gender, or LGBTI, or sexual expression, gender expression, sexual orientation. Is about how systemically migration policies are not tackling systemic inequalities. So it's not about only the representation of self in the society, it's also about how structurally the policy are reinforcing exclusion, how institutions create a hierarchy of rights, and how culturally and how we communicate around migration. So for us, being intersectional needs to cover these systemic inequalities. So in our organization, bringing some feedback to the session, I think it's very important to begin this conversation by understanding that migrants are not a homogeneous group. We are different people with different category of migrations, with different experience, and therefore we have different needs. So someone who is seeking asylum is totally different from someone who's studying. Someone who joins a family member has totally different struggles than someone who's looking for a job. We are not one single group. And that's the problem with European policies, that they want to put everybody in one single box. So understanding the specific needs of each category of migrant is very important. I think it's also very important to understand that European Union values economic migration and intellectual migration, because we are working in an economic model of society that values money and values jobs. However, it's important to understand that having a job does not prevent us to be protected from social exclusion. So I think we also have to understand that this question of achieving equality by having a job is really complicated. And I want just to finalize on the gender perspective that was mentioned by Cyrene. We also have to challenge the gender role in society. we don't recognize domestic labor, community care, sex work. It's really important that we understand these unrecognized dimensions of work when you talk about migration, because there is an immense workforce taking care of our community and of our families.
Thank you for this powerful intervention. We really appreciate it. And actually, that has opened quite many different topics. And I appreciate as well that you get also into the thing of the systematic sort of problem of management of migration, or the way in how institutions built on asymmetric relationships between northern countries, or at least countries with a situation of a more powerful situation in terms of economics, especially face migration in comparison with people who are coming from those countries. You also say like the way how the institutions are create a hierarchy in terms of rights for human beings. So I find it quite interesting. We are running a little bit out of time, but I just would like to propose to stay a little bit longer, because I think we can make some questions, because we didn't have time for that. I will just take one of the questions that it was made in the chat, and then I would also like to make a question to all of you, which I would like to know what is your opinion. And actually, you have already you have already answered this question, which is about what do you think about the way the European Union is dealing with migration in general terms. And then the second question that I will grasp from the conversation is like, do you have, all of you have plans to stay in Europe despite all the difficulties you have found? So these are the two questions I will pose on the table. And I will give you the floor to any of you who would like to take the word, actually, to take the initiative to answer. You can raise your hand, you can just go. Any of you.
Okay, so just about plans to stay or not, right? It's the question.
That's one of them. If you have plans to stay longer in Europe, even though you know, despite the fact that you have found certain difficulties and challenges, etc., and opportunities as well, but if you have future plans. And the other question is, what do you think? It's a really general question, it's a really broad question, but we have got into that a little bit. So I would like to know, what is your opinion about European migration policy? I mean, more specifically the European Union, but because European migration policy is so really abstract. It's already abstract to talk about European Union migration policy. So yeah, probably will be more related, the first one, to your personal experience or what you feel about that, and the second question is more what you think about European Union migration policies. And then we'll get the word of, by the way, I'm so sorry, I don't remember the name of the last person interviewed from Revibra. What was your name?
My name is Juliana, but I think
Juliana. Sorry,
but
Juliana.
I think Sirini was speaking first. Please go ahead, Sirini.
No, please go ahead. I was making sure of the question. Please.
I will not say my personal journey because I'm too old, and I have kids now, and I think that's the problem with migration. When you migrate with your family, the ties closer. So to go back to your country is a little bit difficult. But I would just respond briefly on the question of migration policies in the EU. I think we are going closer and closer to the concept of fortress Europe. I think migration policies will be even more strict. I think as well with the combination of artificial intelligence and migration policies, we're going to have automated securitization of borders. I think as well that just to think out of the box, This year, for example, is the European Year for Skills, and all migration-related activities are related to high-skilled migrants. So we are just reinforcing economic migration of high-skilled migrants. And I just want to drop one reflection to you. If you take a look of the list of countries in South America who require a visa to enter the European Union, there are only 2 countries that need a visa to enter the European Union. And you know why? There are the only 2 countries with whom European Union has no trade agreement. So let's think about a decolonized approach of migration, but also thinking about the reality on the ground and how this intersects with other policies beyond migration policies.
Yeah. I would just like keep the conversation going. Any of you?
Yeah, I can jump in. Regarding plans, I would say, since the reasons are still there, the career I want to pursue is still the same for the short term. So I'm planning for the short term to stay, maybe not in the same country. So yes, but then the decision is not definitive. I can at any time, change my plans and maybe go back, and I still consider myself between both continents, I would say, or between the 2 countries. I still go very often to Tunisia. I'm still active in the civil society of Tunisia. So yeah, I don't feel I make a break between 2. Then about the policy, I would say the whole logic behind the migration policy should change, because it's written in a colonial way that considers everyone coming from the global south, let's say, they are coming to benefit from the very, very tremendous opportunities that are in Europe, and that these people are less, they have less value than the people in EU, and so migration is still considered as something not normal. Movement is still considered as something not normal, and we should select who can come, who cannot, based on the profile, the background, the experience, the nationality, or the relations between the 2 states, as now my colleague was saying. So migration should be considered as normal movement, and it will, because now movement is happening a lot around the world, and this will just break these policies that are just colonial. Yeah, and this will change everything afterwards, because we will understand that it doesn't have any meaning, this imaginary border that we are just reinforcing more and more.
And just to add to what Cyril said, it's amazing listening to you. I would say if life changes back home in Africa, especially our mentality, I think I will move back to my home country due to my cultural diversity, the cultural changes, because I've really changed things. My idea, this was not my idea. This was not what I wanted. This is not what many people want, to be in a society where you'll be restricted to move, to be in a country. Like, I've been here for 5 years. I've been restricted not to go to Europe. I've been restricted not to go to Central Europe. I've been like in prison, So if I think I am planning to go back. If things changes back home, I will go back. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I visioned for myself. No.
So thank you for your interventions. Actually, it's quite rich, the way in how you have addressed this question. And then I would like to make a last remark in terms of what Juliana was saying on the relations between certain countries in the global south and the European Union, and how injustices start from a sort of a state which is out of our hands, actually. I just would like to remark that some of the things that I guess happens to or are common between all of you is that you are exposed to all these barriers, to all these difficulties and complexities. We are so limited in terms of action. Like, how can we really take the initiative of changing things when things are out of our hands? in relation to politics related to national policies, or even like with supranational entities like the European Union, or even in relation between countries from all around the world. So it's really complicated to to feel empowered actually as human beings, especially when we are in a migration-related situation or context. So we are at 8:10 p.m. I don't know if you have any other questions. In the discussion, I don't see any other questions, and I don't know if we could close down this meeting with your last word. It's something that you would like to share with us. It could be anything. It could be something positive. It could be something negative. It depends on your feelings, actually. I would like to know at this moment, after all these exchanges, like how you feel, and just share whatever you think is up to you right now.
I would say I feel human. Thank you for organizing this session, because I feel this really contributes to humanizing everyone, every story, and every stereotype or title that we just have, or hold because of society's perspectives. So thank you so much, and please keep going and keep organizing these kind of sessions.
Thank you.
And I will just jump in to say, these are questions I never thought someone would ask, and I think it's very important because it permits me to start thinking like, oh, David, are you going to stay in Europe or not? Like, David, what are your future plans? Is Europe comfortable for you? So I have a lot of questions about that, and thank you so much for bringing it up to me. And I would say there are a lot of people out there that are planning to relocate, maybe move from one place to another, not knowing maybe the what they will face, or maybe they will meet. So with this kind of sessions like this, it creates a lot of awareness, a lot of people, for them to know before you move, you need to think of what you might encounter and the difficulties you might encounter. So it's very, very important. And I would say keep doing this, because it helps to sensitize a lot of people to know what before moving, you need to think of what you will meet. So thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for being here. Actually, it's so a pleasure that you want to that you are coming here to share your life experiences and whatever else. Juliana, would you like to say any last words?
Well, who am I? But very briefly, just because I came last, I will quote Audre Lorde, who says that the master's tools cannot dismantle the master's house. So it means we cannot tackle migration and historical inequalities without putting migrants in the center of the discussions and without understanding their perspective. And I also think that the living experience of migrants, although some people say that migration experts should have academic backgrounds, I want to challenge that. I think we need to have a decolonial approach to soft skills. Migrant experience are expertise, and I appreciate a lot that you as a think tank gave us the opportunity to be at the center of the discussions. There is nothing about us without us, so thank you so much, and I hope we can continue this conversation in the future. And good luck to Cyrine and
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Juliana. I mean, this is you went to the heart of what we were trying to do with this meeting. It's just to give the word to those people who are normally not considered to talk in public. I don't. Sometimes I use the word people who are voiceless, but I don't think we are voiceless. I think we are shut off and shut down, which is a little bit different, So I really appreciate these deep sort of bullet points that you put on the table, which I think all of us appreciate. And I don't know if the speakers, the mediators, would like to say any words before we close down, or are we just like finished? Yeah, everything okay, cool. So thank you again for being there. I hope we can continue this conversation out there in other platforms, and I will come back to you soon with a short report on this meeting. So thank you again and take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.